Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Green, and this is another in my series of lessons on statistics now. We're in Unit 5, and this is 5.2. 5.2 deals with variability. What is variability? Well, it's how much does the number vary from that center that we discovered last time. Now, there's a thing called a 5-number summary that you need to know how to calculate. What we're going to use that for is actually to be able to calculate a box and whisker graph. That's where the 5 numbers will come into play. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the median of a number. So I'm going to start crossing off a high and a low, a high and a low and a high and a low and a high and a low, and I get my median to be 63. Now I said 5-number summary. I only see one there. Well, I know one thing I can use is the minimum value. That's going to be 41. That's easy enough to do. And the maximum value, that's 87. That's easy to do. But there's Q1 and Q3. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to look at these numbers that are left, and we're going to find the middle point of them. So watch this. I'm going to mark off a low and a high, a low and a high, and I'm left with these two numbers here. So I add them together and divide by 2. I will get a 47 as my Q1. Okay? Doing this again. Low and a high, low and a high, and I've got these two numbers here. I'm going to add them together and divide by 2, and I'm going to get an 80 as my middle number. So when we do these medians, we're finding the middle point. If I wind up with two numbers, you add them together and divide by 2. Add them together and divide by 2. And that's how you get those median numbers. So I got 41, 47, 63, 80, and 87. You know, this is easier done in other ways. One thing you can do is you can go to your calculator and you can go into stat and then press enter, and it'll take you place to this screen right here. And under L1, you can start entering the information in there. And you can actually enter each one of those values in. Okay? And then if you press stat, calc, and the number 1, and make certain that this up here says L, or the screen says L1 on it, because that's where you entered the data, and press enter 2 times, it'll take you to a place where it'll actually give you those values: 41, 47, 63, 80, and 87. Now, I think that's worth seeing happen. So I'm going to start up my calculator here. Okay, now starting my calculator up. Okay, there it is. Okay, there's my calculator. So I want to go back to my list of data here so that I can enter in these values. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press stat, and I'm going to leave it at edit, and I'm going to press enter. And then I get this L1 list here. Okay, I'm going to go up to L1. I'm going to hit clear, and it'll clear it completely out, and hit enter. And now I can enter these values in. So I'm going to move over just a little bit so I can see them all here. And I'm going to enter them all in. 41, enter. 42, enter. 42, enter. 52, enter. 60, enter. 62, enter. 63, enter. 76, enter. 76, enter. 76, enter. 84, enter. 85, enter. And 87, and enter. Okay, so now that I've got them all in there, I'm going to come back to my normal screen, excuse me, to the blank screen here. Okay, and then I'm going to press stat, I'm going to go to calculate, and the number one thing there says one variable statistics. That's all we're entering in is one variable. And I hit enter on this. I made certain this list says L1 because that's where the data is. And I'm going to go down there to calculate, and I'm going to hit enter. It calculates this x bar and the summation of the x bar and the summation of the x squares and this sx and the standard deviation. But what we're looking for is the 5-number summary here. And what I want to show you is that if I keep moving down here, I get the minimum value of 41, Q1's 47, the median's 63, Q3 is 80, and the max is 87. So your choice, whether you do them manually or whether you do them on the computer, they work out to be the same on a calculator. They work out to be the same things. And you get these values for them. Okay? Now once we have those values, we can use them to make what's called a box and whisker plot. Why do we need a box and whisker plot? A box and whisker plot will show us if something is normally distributed. What you can do is just take the values that you have, 41, and I'm going to put a point right here, and I'm going to draw a line all the way over to 87. Let's see here. Got to be on 41. That was on 42. Sorry. And 87 would be right there. And so I'm going to continue this line all the way over there to 87. And then at 80, I'm going to draw a vertical line. At 63, I'm going to draw a vertical line right there. And at 47, I'm going to draw a vertical line. And then I'm going to draw a box around these vertical lines that I just drew. See, I've got a box with some whiskers sitting out here on the edge. Okay? This box and whisker graph shows me that this side over here is about the same as this side over here, and that this area out here, these whisker areas out here, are not overly extended or anything. This would be called a normal distribution. There it is, drawn a little bit better. Okay? So you can look at that box and whisker to determine if things are normally distributed. What does normal distribution do for us? Well, in some statistics, normal distribution will give us some information that we'll be able to use later on. More about normality at a future lesson. Okay? Now, standard deviation. The way you find standard deviation, and there's a formula to do this, is you take your x values, you find the mean. So the mean of these values is 9. That means you added them all up and divided by however many there are. So you added these 6 numbers up and divided by 6. Gave you a mean of 9 of 9. You're going to take this x value minus the 9. So 11 minus 9 is a 2. That should be a 9. 9 minus 9 is a 0. 7 minus 9 is a minus 2. 5 minus 9 is a 4, minus 4. 10 minus 9 is a 1, and 12 minus 9 is a 3. And then you add these things up, okay? So 2 plus 0 is 0, minus 2 is a 0, minus 4 is a minus 4. So I wind up with a total of 0 here, don't I? That didn't help a whole lot. Oh, wait a second. I'm supposed to square it first. I'm sorry. So 4, 0, 4, 16, 1, and 9. Why would we square them first? Well, the squaring gets rid of the negative signs, doesn't it? Okay? Now we're supposed to add them up. So 4 and 4 are 8, plus 16 is 24, plus 1 is 25, plus 9 is 34. Right? 10, 26, 34. Yes, 34. So my s squared is going to be this number 34 divided by 5. 34 divided by 5 is going to be 6.8. 6.8. And then to find s, I find the square root of 6.8, and I get this 2.6. Okay? Once again, on those 5 number summaries up here at the top, you can see these values are here. The S of x is right there, 16.9 in this situation for the numbers that we calculated earlier. So we can see what this is. Now this S or SX, if you want to look at it that way, that is called the standard deviation. That's how far from the norm, from the average, the center that you're looking at, the center, you go. Okay, there's one standard deviation that way and one standard deviation that way. Okay, we'll get more of this as we get into normality a little bit more, but that's just what you need to know, is that's what the standard deviation is doing. It's telling you how far you're getting away from your normal value, your center. Okay, enough for today. I'll see you next time.